and turn around the way that they've looked in the conference at 13th in 3-point percentage. I don't know that I could say, hey, I've got the angle in my pocket in this game and let's go invest in this. But you better believe I'm going to be watching it.
Oh, God, everyone's going to be watching it. Road revenge, man, for Duke, right? I think, you got North Carolina. They can lock up a share of the ACC regular season by beating Duke, share it with Virginia. So North Carolina's got to be motivated. But everyone knows that Zion Williamson's hurt, and everyone's going to jump on North Carolina here. And that may be true. A lot of people say he's worth 5 or 6 points on the line. I'm not sure if I believe that. I think I'm not sure if any player is worth that, because you got to give credit to the rest of the recruits here. They still have 2 active top 5 recruits: Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett, right? I mean, they still have dominant players, and these kids are going to be hyped up for this spot. And we know that both of these teams can score points, but even with Zion out, Coach K is going to be having them play a little bit more defense, I think. High total, it's going to be 167. I think Zion going out the first minute of that last game screwed my over. Not necessarily looking at the total here. I think the fact that Duke lost to Virginia Tech and they barely squeaked by Wake Forest a couple days ago, won by 1 point, really helps Duke, and it really hurts the North Carolina bettors here. I think the contrarian side for once is actually going to be Duke. Okay. And Duke's biggest weakness is shooting the 3 and free throws to some extent. But where Duke's got a chance here is that North Carolina ranks 10th in the conference in defending the 3. So maybe if they can hit some threes like you saw them get hot at Syracuse only, a week ago or so, and at Virginia, and I believe those games were without Zion, they should be able to motivate themselves to a cover. Well, I know Syracuse was without Zion. Virginia might have been without someone else. But, I think the spread, I'm going to watch it as soon as it comes out. If it comes out at 3 or 4, I'm going to jump on North Carolina because I'm going to set myself up for a middle. And I might come back harder with Duke if it gets to +7, +8. So say it comes out +3. I might just take a small wager on North Carolina and just wait till that thing goes way up, and then come back harder with Duke. I think the spot says Duke all over it. Duke's you cannot discount this team. It's so perfect that they only beat Wake Forest by 1 point here. The Zion thing's overblown. It's time to bet Duke, my man. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I like your angle. I think that if the number comes in short like that and it's a 3-point open, you're going to definitely see this get bet up. I think the public's going to say, we do not want Duke here. We'd love to see them lose. Let's throw some money on North Carolina. I think that number is going to go up. I like your approach to it. From a sports betting standpoint, this is just one of those games with my personal style. I'd rather invest in a team covering the spread against Incarnate Word instead of throwing some money down on this one. Because I think there's better lines to exploit. But like I said, this is going to have the flair for the dramatic. I'm interested to see how North Carolina bounces back with the Roy Williams thing. Hopefully he's okay and there's no complications with whatever health issue he had at the last game. But, I mean, there's so many storylines within this matchup that I'm just going to grab a big old bucket of popcorn and watch this one.
Oh, absolutely, man. Or just bet just something so small that you can be just a little happy if you win a pizza or something, Absolutely. This is definitely no one should ever bet a Super Bowl, a championship with 5 stars, because if you are or if you're getting advice from someone that it is, you probably should run the other direction. There's this game's not going to have a ton of value. I think the only value is just fading the public, and I just think the public will be on North Carolina in this fact. So that's the only value you're going to have. But the truth is, North Carolina should beat this team. If you just look at no situational angles, the way they are without Zion, the way they shoot threes, the way they shoot free throws, North Carolina should beat this team by 5-6 points. But I think the revenge factor for Duke and the fact they can have an opportunity to exploit North Carolina a little bit is going to come into play. And I also think the officials might make it a little bit closer too, so we'll see what happens. I have a real quick one. I only have a couple minutes left. Purdue versus Northwestern. This is one of my larger plays without seeing the lines. Obviously, I give my biggest plays to members. Purdue's coming off that huge loss versus Minnesota. Now they're giving up a chance at the Big Ten regular season title unless they beat Northwestern. Northwestern finally got a win after losing 10 in a row against a very injured Ohio State team last night. Right? And that was because Caleb Wesson, their best player, is out. So the Wildcats have the worst offense in the Big Ten. They're the worst team in the Big Ten. They are ranked on offense 187th in the nation in offensive efficiency. Purdue has the 5th best offense in the nation at 121.5. The Boilermakers also have an edge on defense in conference play against Northwestern. This is a total motivation. Northwestern has no reason to show up here. No reason. They're stuck. Purdue has every reason to come off this loss and get a share of that Big Ten title. I like this game big. I like it all the way up to 11 at least, my man. Any quick thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that anybody would convince me to pull out the wallet and put something with Northwestern here. I think the spot is right where you think it is. With a larger number, they're playing the bottom of the Big Ten here. They need this win to have the season championship, but are they thinking Big Ten conference tourney as well? What I would do is I would take a look at what the full game line is, and if there's any value on that first half line, you'd like to think that Purdue's going to come out, step on the gas, knock down a huge lead at halftime, and I would hate to see some one of these typical backdoor covers, but I don't see it happening. But my only take is perhaps there's some added value to the first half, but I don't see any reason why you wouldn't look Purdue here, and I wouldn't throw stones at anybody looking to look at Purdue heavy here.
I would almost say bet both halves. Start with the first half and the full game. That seems like a good way to look at this game too. All right, my man, we only have a couple minutes real quick. You have one more game, and it's a Sunday game here. Illinois versus Penn State. I have Penn State about a 7-point favorite, over under about 145. Any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens tonight with Illinois. They're hosting Indiana. That's going to be a tough matchup. Indiana's coming in pretty hot with some big-time wins. I anticipate there'll be an interesting show with Illinois tonight, and then they host Penn State. Penn State is coming in with quite a story in the second half of the Big Ten. They've got impressive wins against Michigan, Maryland, and Ohio State as outright dogs. They're 4-0-1 in the last 5 and 7-1-2 in the last 10 ATS. But I don't think Illinois should be overlooked here. They've been a relative surprise at 6-4 in the last 10 in conference play. Rest, I think, is going to be a big issue here. While Illinois is playing tonight, I think it's important to look. Penn State played yesterday. They played in a game they were up big. You saw the air come out of their sails against Rutgers, and they'll be playing their 4th game in 12 days off a 2-game road trip in the last 5 against Rutgers and Wisconsin on the road. I think matchup-wise, these two teams look pretty similar. Offensively, from an efficient standpoint, there's not a huge degree of separation. Clearly, Illinois is the less strong defensive team, but Penn State here, I think this might be one of those opportunities, depending on where the line opens, where if it does get up to 7, I'm going to take a strong look at Illinois here. I was wondering what your thoughts are on that.
One thing about it, and you're right, these Sunday games are tough to cap without seeing what they're doing on Thursday here. I definitely would like to look at Illinois if they lose to Indiana more than if they beat Indiana. Even though Indiana's a down team this year, they still have that name Indiana. So I think that's a big point in this game. But you're right. Penn State's kind of been a little bit on fire, covering a ton of their last games. They pushed at last night. I was thinking about taking them, and they're beating the hell out of Rutgers, and they kind of fell, And I thought to myself, well, I'm just glad I didn't take that. I would have, sweat that one out to a push. And it was also at -1.5 for a while, then -1. So not enough information for me, but what I might look at is the over, because Penn State's been picking up their pace the last few games. They're especially at home. They scored 78 against Maryland. They scored 95 against Nebraska, 75 against Michigan. Their last 3 home games they actually won, but they're home dogs. They might have been a small favorite against Nebraska actually, but it was small, and then they blew out Nebraska. But I think it just depends upon where Illinois is here. But I prefer looking at the over, because Illinois plays at a faster tempo, fastest tempo in the Big Ten at 70.5 adjusted possessions. So that's what I'd have, my man. Well, that's it, man. We are out of time. Tom, I'm very excited for you to head out to Vegas land and have a great time putting some plays in. And you be safe out there. And once again, thanks for coming on and giving us your insights.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, everyone. If you have any questions for Tom, you can tweet him at Cover Profits. If you have any questions for us or want to contribute, please tweet us at The Odds Breakers. Everyone have a fantastic weekend and go get some winners.